I don't want to say welcome to my channel. That's just not, it's just not me. If you're watching this, hi. I actually did have a video on this channel previously, which was basically a video all about my story and just like why I have an absent father. I feel like every time I tell someone my story, I get the same comment of, oh my god, that's crazy, this could be a film, da da da. I took it down because basically I've been having a relationship with my dad for 2 years now, just over 2 years, and I feel like when I made that video I wasn't having a relationship with him yet, and I feel like I learned a lot about the situation and the story from having a relationship with him. I'm gonna briefly touch on that in this video, as in kind of like the backstory of why my father's absent, I guess, and then I'm gonna jump straight into it in terms of basically what happened when I asked him if he was ever going to tell his family about me. So I have never had a father in my life up until the age of, well, like 2 years ago, and it's kind of all I've ever known. I really don't know where to start this because it's so complex. Basically, my dad is Indian and my mum is Scottish, and they had an affair with each other. So my dad is married, he was married and he is still married to the same woman that he's with, and my mum was married also at the time, but she's no longer with him anymore. They had an affair together, they worked together, and so my dad's Indian. He's kind of in an arranged marriage. It really depends on what your opinion is on what an arranged marriage is. So from my understanding and what he's told me is his parents basically said to him, because he's the oldest of the family, he's the eldest son, and they said to him, you know, look, you need to marry an Asian woman, because he had brought home a woman who was not Asian, and they were like, yeah, she's lovely, but she's not Asian. You need to marry an Asian woman. They didn't pick his wife for him to a degree, like, you know, it wasn't like they looked at who her family was, etc, etc. They let him make that decision, but she did have to be Asian. My mum was also married, and she got married at 23, so quite young. And at this time she was in the Mormon religion, like Latter-day Saints religion. I actually grew up in that religion. I don't go anymore, but I still have amazing friends who go to it, and I'm not gonna sit here and like bad talk about the religion. I think the religion now is a lot different to what it used to be. She got married young, and obviously having an affair is extremely wrong in any circumstances, but it's very wrong within the church. And also all of my family were also going to church that time, so there was a lot of pressure on her, and I think she felt a lot of guilt. My mum had been married to her husband at the time, and they were having issues, and I think she thought she couldn't get pregnant, just because they'd been trying, nothing had happened, and obviously she did fall pregnant with me, and my dad did ask my mum to have an abortion. She didn't have one, thank you, mum. It's really hard for me to talk on, because from where I'm sat and the conversation I've had with my dad and with my mum, I do think that there was love there. I know that my mum did love him, and she thought that he was going to leave his wife for her, and I think, you know, my dad did also love my mum. He obviously couldn't leave his wife because he would, you know, he may be disowned, and also to kind of make things a little bit worse, she was actually 3 months pregnant at the time. Anyways, I was born, and my dad was not there when I was born. I'm actually born, this is so crazy, but I'm actually born on his wedding anniversary, which is also very weird because I'm 2 weeks early. So I really feel like there was some like divine intervention of some sort when I was born, because I was born 2 weeks early. And so like me being born on that day means he will never forget what day I'm born. Do you know what I mean? So
bitch, I see what you did there. I know.
My family knew that my mum's husband wasn't my dad. She had kind of told my nana and papa, like, look, I'm pregnant, the father is not my husband, and I don't want to talk about it. And they didn't talk about it. Like, they respected my mum's wishes and they didn't talk about it. I think there was some sort of like hopeful wishing that like my mum and her husband at the time would sort it out and stuff, and get back together. That didn't happen. I don't think he could ever really get past like the affair, but also bringing up a child that wasn't his. He knew that I wasn't mine, and I didn't look like him. He's Swedish, so we don't look the same. I think my family was in a bit of denial when I was born. I came out and my nan was like, oh, she's jaundice, you know, and my mum was just like, no, she's just half Asian. Like, I'm not jaundiced, like this is just the colour of my skin. And then yeah, honestly, like since I was born, my dad has never been in my life. And I also did not know for a long time of my life that I was mixed race. So because of the shame that comes with having an affair, especially within religion, I was told that the reason that I was brown, or the reason that I had my skin colour, was because the fact that my mum's husband's grandparents were like a quarter Italian. Now looking back, that makes no sense whatsoever, and I know that that's what the story was that got told to also other people that would say like, wow, look at Chloe's complexion and things like that. Obviously as a child, I'm just gonna agree with what's said. I did not know that I was mixed race until I was 16. I didn't know that I was half Indian until I was 16 or 14, like thereabouts. And then I didn't actually find out who my dad was until I was 16 as well. Growing up, I knew that my mum's husband wasn't my dad, but I didn't know who my dad was. And I kind of didn't really ask questions. I don't know why. I probably wanted to, but I just didn't ask questions. So growing up, it's literally just been me and my mum. Then when I was 16, you know, I had questions, and I was speaking to my best friend at the time, and she was just like, just ask your mum, like just ask her. And I remember it so vividly. Like I sat down on my bed in my room and I just said to my mum, like, who's my dad? She told me who he was, that he only lived like half an hour down the road, and that he had 3 children. He has a child or a daughter, I don't know if I should say this. He has a daughter that's 6 months older than me. He has another daughter that's younger than me, and a son that's younger than me. So he has 3 children. And yeah, and when I found out, it honestly just floored me, because I've grown up as an only child. The thing I've wanted for the longest is a sibling. Like, honestly, ask my mum. We watched like this J-Lo film once where she went to like the sperm bank, and I said to my mum, like, you need to go do that. You need to go to the sperm bank. Like, I want a sibling. Kind of floored me that I had these 3 half siblings, but they don't know that I exist. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit sticky, is that none of his family actually know that I exist, which really sucks. And with that information, I didn't really do much other than the fact I was just like, wow, I'm half Indian, because I'd always felt growing up like I knew that I wasn't white just because of things that had happened. And I'll insert a photo of like me when I'm younger. I don't look white either. When I was 20 years old, I actually moved away from Essex. So I'm originally from Essex and moved to Milton Keynes, which is where I am now. I have quite a lot of family here, and also I was in a relationship at the time. He lived in Watford, and so I thought I was going to be with him forever, and I was like, I'm all for this move. Like, let me move closer to him, let me move closer to my family, that kind of thing. So at age 20, I actually messaged my dad and I asked him to meet up with me. I was shitting a brick. I met him in a pub in Basildon, and I remember feeling really deflated after meeting him for the first time. I think if you're someone who's had an absent father, and you will understand that you kind of put them on a pedestal. I just thought that when I met him, he'd be like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, like, you're my daughter, da da da, and like that didn't happen, and reality hit me in the face. Yeah, it didn't really go the way that I thought it was going to go in my head. And he kind of said to me, like, you know, the ball's in your court if you want to do this again. And I just felt a bit like, I'm your kid. Like, what do you mean the ball's in my court? Like, you should want a relationship with me. But anyways, after that, I actually didn't speak to him. I just wasn't really in the place yet to kind of sum that up. I think I was moving away. It just wasn't the time. And then May 2022, I messaged him and I asked him to meet up. And the reason why is because basically I was in a 4-year relationship, and I had broken up with that person. I'd ended the relationship, and I just wanted to focus on me. You know, I was settling for the bare minimum in that relationship anyways, and I'd kind of fallen out of love, and so I was just working on myself a lot. Honestly, I was working on myself a lot, and as soon as I come out of that breakup, I immediately felt the effects of having an absent father. And what I mean by that is like, I left that relationship and I was like, oh my god, I don't have a man in my life who loves me anymore. What am I going to do? Freaking out. I was like, I want male validation. I want this. I want that. And instead of me going out and doing it, I just sat with myself and I was like, why am I having these thoughts? Like, what is going on? Like, I need to like understand this. And I genuinely realized just how much daddy issues, if you want to call them that, or just having an absent father had really impacted me. And I was so convinced that I didn't want a relationship with him. I don't need him in my life. It got to a point where I thought, if something was to happen to him, like, would I regret not trying? And I was like, yeah, I would. So I reached out to him and asked him if he would like to try and have a relationship with me. I basically said how, you know, I don't want to have any regrets. I want to at least try. And I did say that my end goal would be that I want his family to know about me. Now that's a really important part of the story. Okay, and I'll tell you why later. And so yeah, like, he was like, yeah, I'd love to have a relationship with you, I'm so glad you reached out to me, and and so ever since, honestly, we've been having a relationship ever since. What that has looked like is meeting up for dinner, as in, that's probably majority of what we do is we just meet up every 2 months-ish, and we catch up over dinner. Our catch-ups often look like him telling me about his life, his children's life, that kind of vibe. Some of it is also getting to know me. We have celebrated birthdays, which has been lovely. Like last year, like, I celebrated my birthday with him. He took me to the Shard. Like, it was a really lovely experience. And I have like learned quite a lot about myself since having a relationship with him, like how a lot of the time before I'm going to meet him, I'm extremely anxious and I'm extremely nervous, and my nervous system is like freaking out. And it hasn't really, like, it has got a bit better as the 2 years have gone on, but it also hasn't. And I think it's just because, like, for me and my inner child, like, I'm going to spend time with my dad, which is a really big thing. You know, the whole point of me having a relationship with him is that I wanted to get to know him. I wanted to get to know me. I wanted to really, you know, understand more about my roots, because I've never really, you know, I've never been exposed to the fact that I'm half, like, I've never been exposed to like my Asian roots or anything like that, and that's really important to me. If you're a mixed race person, you'll get what I mean when I say that. Sometimes it's hard. Like, in my situation, I've been raised by a white family. Honestly, like, I really wanted it to be the start of something good, and that we would build up a relationship and that he would tell his family. I've been having therapy since maybe like December last year, and I've been actually having somatic therapy. So basically what that means is that my therapist helps me to feel my emotions, because something that I really struggle with, and this is to do with probably having an absent father but also like childhood and stuff, is that I just really struggle to feel them. I can process them and I will sit here and be like, I'm feeling sad because of XYZ, which is fine. Like, you can understand them, but unless you feel them, they kind of get stuck in your body. I remember like growing up, like, my mum would used to cry at films and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, why are you crying? This is not really sad. And I never used to cry at films, and now I cry all the time, which is great. I love crying. I've been working with her and so much has come up, and it kind of came up in therapy that we've been having a relationship for 2 years and he's still not mentioned anything about telling his family. And I did want to kind of have that conversation with him, because at what point have we done enough relationship building for you to tell them? We had a bit of a disagreement about it before, where he kind of cancelled on me very last minute, like I'm talking less than 24 hours, because his daughter just bought a house and all the family were going to be there, and I got triggered, obviously, because I'm thinking, oh my god, everyone on that side of his family is going round to like his eldest daughter's new house and they're celebrating and have a lovely time, and I'm not part of that. It was just like a reminder, and so I kind of didn't respond back in the best way. He did leave it, and like we had a disagreement face to face about it, and you know, he was just like, look, now is not the right time, but when the time is right, I will tell them. And I was like, okay, cool. But then since it'd never been brought up, and I can always tell like he doesn't feel comfortable talking about this, and it's fine, I get it. Maybe like 3 months ago, I put up a story, I put up a reel on my Instagram, basically saying that I was going to have a conversation with him of, are you going to tell your family that I exist? And if you're not, I don't know if I want to have a relationship with him. This is something that got brought up in therapy, because I realised that I just really wanted to be chosen by him, but also like I have a right to not be a secret. I'm probably gonna get emotional when I talk about this, because unless you're in it, it's really hard to like explain. Knowing that you're a secret is a really crappy feeling, and it does a lot to your head. Like it really does a number on your head. There is a lot of shame that comes with that, and I don't mean like shame consciously, I mean shame subconsciously. So without me knowing it, like the best way that I can describe it, it kind of feels like there's this like cloud over you at all times, and it's like you can't fully, I don't know, be yourself or be open because it's kind of tainted, you know. And it's something that I really struggle with, like I genuinely really struggle with moving through life knowing that there's a whole family that don't know that I exist and that I'm a secret. And when you're trying to really work on your confidence and just being you, it's hard to do that with that in the back of your head. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have a relationship with him anymore because of how it was making me feel. Like I said, you know, being a secret, being reminded of that every time that I see him, it isn't good for me when I'm like, it's like you're trying so hard to grow and push yourself and to like not let these like subconscious beliefs, you know, get to you or control you. But then I'm doing all this work and then I'm sitting down face to face with the one person that's like uprooting it all and triggering me left, right, center, and reminding me ultimately that I'm a secret and that he doesn't want to tell his family, and that, you know, I'm not good enough. Because that is one of my biggest subconscious beliefs, is that I'm not good enough. And I have been working really hard around that. And so the conversation kind of got brought up naturally. I had said something like, something that I'm worried about is if you die, how am I gonna find out? Like, because they can't tell me because they don't know I exist. And he was like, oh, like, well, the person who does the will will ring you. And I was like, what? Like, what? He was like, yeah, you're in my will. I'm gonna be so honest with you, I don't know if I believe that I am. Being in his will isn't something that I'm like, yeah, I want a bit of that, like put me in the will, like I want to cut. Like honestly, I couldn't care less about that. Like I genuinely couldn't care less about getting anything from him or anything like that if he was to ever pass away. Do you know what I mean? And so I said, what do you mean? He was like, so the executor of the will contact you if I pass away because you're in my will. And I was like, okay, I said I've got a question for you, and I just need you to be really honest with me and really like please don't say stuff just to protect my feelings or to make yourself look like a better person. Like I just need the truth. Like, do you actually ever plan on telling your family that I exist? He said to me, he was like, okay, if I'm being really honest, no, I don't ever plan to tell them whilst I'm alive. Once I'm dead, it will come out because you're in my will, and like, you know, that will come out. But whilst I'm alive, I don't plan to tell them. It's really hard for him because the same way like my family are my people, because one thing about me, like I love my family, like I'll ride and die for my family, like they are my people. I'm so close, I'm a family girl. That's why like I can understand what he's saying when he says like my family are my people, and I don't want to do anything to jeopardize losing them hating me, you know. I don't want to lose my children, things like that. And so I can understand where he's coming from, and it's probably the most honest conversation that we've ever had. And that was him being vulnerable, you know. Like he said, I'm really sorry, but I just can't do it. And I was like, okay, I'm really glad you've been honest with me. Like I like really appreciate it, because if we fast forward back to when we started having a relationship, I told him that was my end goal, and he said, okay, sure, we'll see how things go. I think deep down he knew he was never going to tell them, but he didn't want to tell me that. And so after that, I kind of just had to sit with those feelings. It kind of sucked because I realized that I had to pick one or the other. Like that's kind of what it felt like. I either like shoot myself in the foot and I don't have anything to do with him at all, and I lose everything like to do with him and like that part of me, or I continue having a bare minimum relationship again, which was another thing. Obviously this is different because it's a relationship with my father. It's not a romantic relationship. It's still a rule that applies in my head that I don't want to settle for the bare minimum from men, because that is what I would do if my daddy issues and all of that like was still having a say, is saying like you're not worthy of XYZ, so you just settle. Like I don't want to settle, I'm not here to settle. And so I really had to take the time to sit down and think about what way I wanted to go, and if I wanted to continue having a relationship with him but happy to still stay a secret and have this bare minimum, or just not have anything at all. I then met him again after that conversation. The next time that I met him, things felt really different for me. I remember, so we met up up, we like went to a pub and then we had some dinner, and I remember just feeling really guilty when I was with him, like what I was doing was wrong. It was like I felt bad because I knew that what I was participating in was deceiving other people, because all this time I'd been under the impression that he was going to tell his family at some point, and that we were just like working things out and like building a relationship, and like one day it would happen. And then going into like this next catch up knowing that that wasn't the case, it just felt wrong. You know, the best way I could describe it, and I feel like it's gonna sound really messed up, but it kind of didn't feel like, I don't know what an affair feels like because I've never engaged in that, but like the deceitfulness and the lying and the sneaking around and that, like it just felt wrong, because I knew that he'd lied to his family about where he was. I knew, and I thought, oh my god, he's gonna have to do this forever. It just felt wrong and it didn't feel right. And I remember just feeling like, this isn't, like, I don't think that I can continue meeting up with him. And like I didn't think that that was gonna happen, because before that I'd WhatsApped him and I said, look, I'm happy to keep having a relationship, but like, can we please do things other than just like catching up for dinner? Because like respectfully, like I can buy myself dinner, like we don't need, like, let's do other things. Let's, like, you know, we're trying to build a relationship here, like let's not just go out for dinner every time. I had therapy and I told her what had been happening. I told my therapist what had been happening and kind of the outcome of it, and you know, we really delved into like what I felt, and you know, we agreed that it would be good if I had some space from him to just kind of see how I felt not seeing him, but also to like navigate these feelings and emotions that had come up. So I did drop him a message and I just said like, hi, hope you're okay, I'm so sorry, like we've not spoken. Another thing about that, the dynamic of me and him having a relationship, I don't know if this is normal, okay? I don't have any guidelines on what navigating a relationship with a father who's been absent in your life looks like, okay? We would not message each other like really, like maybe like every 3 to 4 weeks, like every month. Like I could be dead and he wouldn't know, okay? Like I understand it goes both ways, but also like I'm his daughter, like you should be checking up on me. Yeah, and I just kind of messaged him and I was just like, look, I'm really sorry. I just wanted, like, I know I said that I was comfortable having a relationship with you, but like since just finding out about the fact that you're not going to tell your family, I just need a bit of space to just kind of like see if it's something that I want. And he just responded and was like, hi Chloe, like no worries, so glad like things are going so well for you, like you deserve it, no worries, keep in touch. And that was it, and that was like beginning of July. So it will be nearly 2 months since I've had that space, and he's not contacted me, I've not contacted him. People ask me like, do you wish that he'd contacted you? And I'm like, I don't know, like sure, a part of me does, because I'm like, be nice for him to check up on me and be like, look, I know you wanted space, but I just want to make sure you're okay, you know, thinking about you, I don't know. So like he's respecting a boundary that I've put in place. Like I can't exactly be like, oh, he's not messaged me, you know. The thing that I'm really struggling with is there's a whole family that don't know that I exist, and there's a family that I want to have a relationship with. You know, I have 3 half siblings, and I feel like every time I have this conversation with people, they're like, you have to contact them, you have to tell them, like they have a right to know. And I'm like, they do, I'm with you, they do, but also it is scary. Like I don't want to be that person to ruin someone's family. Like yeah, they have a right to know, and yeah, I have a right to be known. I fully get that. It's just a really big thing. You know, since having that space and not having a relationship with him, as sad as it is, I have felt a lot better not having a relationship with him. I have felt like I've been able to really just like go upwards. I really feel in some respect that having a relationship with him made it a lot harder to kind of grow and develop, rid of all the stuff that was holding me back. Obviously some of it's on me, but when a lot of your like subconscious fears or beliefs that are controlling you are coming from a place, you know, the very person that inflicted that on you, it's really hard to move past. I say this so it's gonna come across so bad, but I really don't know how much value he brought to my life having a relationship with him. That's horrible to say, isn't it? I don't know, like I'm someone that loves deep conversations, and like I'm a deep person, like I love to have deep conversations and let's talk about, you know, deep stuff, and just to be able to have that with someone, whereas he is not. I remember like speaking about emotions, he's just like, I don't cry, like why would I cry? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I didn't cry when like my father-in-law passed away. I probably won't cry when my parents pass away. And I'm like, that's not normal. I don't know, we're just very different. And that's not to say like we can't have a relationship, but the relationships that I have in my life, like they're really important to me, and they're relationships where I can be myself with them and I can have these conversations with them, and I can't really do that with him. And I don't know, I just felt like he didn't really see me for me. Like, I feel like every time that I'd see him, he'd be like, oh, like, so like, have you got a guy yet? Have you found a man? Like, what's your dating life like? And I'm like, I suck at dating. I like can't. And I said to him, I was like, I am so scared to date because of my daddy issues. And maybe I'll make another video like literally like what are daddy issues, because I feel like there's so much like stigma around it, like, oh, like you sleep around, and or like you just really like want guys, and like, sure, I'm sure that manifests in some people, which I know it does, but some people it doesn't. Some people are just petrified of men, like so scared that you're gonna say the wrong thing, or like that you're not gonna be good enough, or like they would never fancy me. You know, like the anxiety that you get around men, like, oh my gosh, I've had to work so hard and just feeling like comfortable, and to not come across as like a cold-hearted person when I'm around men. I get so nervous that I'll literally be like, hi, you okay? I won't be myself, I won't laugh, I just act like I'm kind of at a conclusion that I don't think I'm gonna carry on having a relationship with him. But also in the back of my head, I'm very aware that what I want is that's bigger than that, is to not be a secret. I really just struggle with that. And it's like, you know, I've made TikToks on this. TikTok's a weird place. You will get really mean people. I've had really mean people on my page being like, why would you air your dirty laundry like this? Or like, you know, she's not even Gujarati. Like they've said bad things about my mum. And like, I've had conversations with my mum like, look, I am really passionate about, one, getting this story out there, like getting my story out there, because if there's one thing that I wish I had growing up, it was someone that spoke about this, not just for me, but also for any other mothers out there who are going through something similar and they don't know how to navigate it. But yeah, like I've had some really mean TikTok comments, you know, like, why would you air your dirty laundry like that? And I'm like, it's only dirty if you think that it's dirty, and it's only dirty because no one talks about it. There's so much shame around having an absent father and coming from a situation where there was an affair, and like you're seen as like this dirty thing. And I'm like, I am not here for it anymore. To be completely honest with you, I'm not here anymore. I've worked so hard to get rid of the shame that comes with this, because if there's one thing that I know, and I know that other women will feel this way too, there is so much shame that comes from having an absent father, and on top of that being a secret, and all the other complex stuff that happens within my story. There is so much shame. It feels shameful. It feels like you're not good enough. It feels like you're not worthy of love. It feels like something's wrong with you, or you did something wrong. And that's another thing, inner child healing. Like, you have to literally tell your inner child, like, babe, you did nothing wrong. Like, you literally couldn't have done anything to get him to love you, to get him to show up. The more people that talk about this, better. I've had so many messages from so many women who have had a similar story to me, and they're like, thank you so much for talking about it. Like, I'm so glad to know that I'm not the only one. And I'm like, that's all I want. Yeah, I just want to continue to like share my story and just bring awareness to it. I think it's really important that we know we're not alone, and that there are other women and other people who are going through really similar things. That is basically where I'm at with my situation with my dad. Honestly, I say this every time, but there's never, like, I don't really ever get a lot of comments, but if there is anyone out there who has been in a similar situation, navigating a relationship with their dad, like, please share your tips. I'm proud of the progress that I've made. Like, if I think back to like when I was 18, like how I was then compared to how I am now, I've done like a lot of the work to just really be myself and get rid of all the conditioning and like the subconscious beliefs and fears, and like start to just really show up as myself, which is a big thing. Like, it was really scary for me because I just didn't really think that I was good enough. I'm enjoying the journey. It doesn't mean that there's not bad days and I don't cry in my bed. Like, literally yesterday I went on a walk and I seen a father playing with his daughter in the street, and I kid you not, I cried on my walk. I had to come back home, and I was just like, There are going to be days where I'm fine and I can sit here and talk to you like this. Obviously I got a bit emotional, but like some days I'm fine, and then some days I will literally be crying and I'm just like, I just don't get it. Why doesn't he want me? Why doesn't he want to tell his family? Like, why can this just not, like, why does it have to be so hard? I just want to help as many people as I can. I don't know, helping them understand that having an absent father doesn't dictate who you are. It doesn't dictate the love that you're worthy of. And it also doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that you're damaged. I think that's a really important thing. You know, we're breaking cycles. We're breaking generational cycles. We're up leveling. We're growing. Like, thanks for listening if you made it this far. I don't know what other videos I'm gonna upload. If you want to see anything else, let me know in the comments. Just thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and yeah, I'll see you next time I have something to say. Bye.